Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. There's been a lot going on. There always is. And I recently, as a matter of fact, I'm going to have to, my wife and I both have to go to the office of her current employer, same as my former employer, to try to get them to transfer the Iqama. And we have to go to an office that is in the city in which I live. And hope that that works. I have not yet gotten around to buying my ticket to go to the States for this summer because I don't know when they're going to finish this process. And there's always something that ruins and throws the plans off. And I've reached a point where, because I know that this was done out of spite by the former employer against a lot of employees, many of them, just spite, just to be mean. And I've reached a point now where I'm not willing to take orders from any Arab at this point. Black Arab, sure, but a non-black Arab can't give me orders. I've already been this way, but I've reached this point now where I won't even sign a contract with one. At this point, even here in Saudi, in order to give me any orders, you're going to have to be a non-Arab or a black Arab. And I say that because they do spiteful things, but they swear that they're so honest and then turn around and do spiteful sideways things. Any group of people of any race or language group or cultural background can do this, but who swears that they're honest? So I don't tolerate that when they do it. But anyway, I opened this up to record in order to tell you guys the meaning of not even though, but because. And the meaning of this phrase is something I've written about before. I've mentioned it in speech a few times, but I'm going to clarify it. And this is one of the reasons that I keep saying it's a war, and that they're not doing what they do merely out of selfish interest, and also hatred and contempt are both motivations for the things that we see the westerneshas do across the board. One example is we wonder why it is that westerneshas, white or black, will be on camera dissing loving, loyal boyfriends. With a camera, knowing they're being recorded, they will diss loyal boyfriends. And we can wonder why the hell that is. We would say, why would they do this even though they know they're being recorded, and this will be on YouTube or social media, if not on television? And my answer to that is the same as why it is that they say that they like a particular guy even though they like another guy, and why they say that why they lie even though that means that men are going to be confused and there will be fewer men that they like, and why they hate nice men even though these nice men are nice to them. I'm going to tell you now that that is best answered when you take even though and replace it with because. And then you understand it all. westerneshas are on camera again and again disrespecting their loving boyfriends and husbands because they're on camera. It is not only because the boyfriends are loving and committed that they're doing this, but it is also because they're being recorded. Now you would think, okay, wait a minute. So they want to be exposed? Right now, you must understand that for years, the social pressure on them, it was like this with sisters before. Now it's like this in the West in general. The social pressure that is on westerneshas is to be dirty and nasty, filthy, stank, funky, and mean and trifling. And to be this way to the men who don't deserve this from them. The social pressure under which they are is to respect men who are not respectable and to disrespect the men that are respectable and don't deserve it. They are not on these shows and everything else cheating, even though they're being recorded. They're doing it because they're being recorded. You see, back in Jim Crow in the States, anonymous and private surveys showed something that was a bit, it was a major eye-opener. There were more whites in the South that pretended to be racist than there were that actually were racist and had any antipathy towards black folks. Now, there were many that would say, well, we don't have a problem with them. We want them to be independent. What that meant was we don't have a problem with them as long as they're not around us and as long as they're in an inferior position. I'm not talking about those folks not being so-called racist, but there were those who really didn't have a problem with black folk anyway. But they had to pretend like they did because of where they were. They had to pretend like they did so that they would not be called an N-word lover. That was a social pressure under which they were. The same thing is the case right now. The reverse, racially speaking, is the case. You now have more Wyatts in these anonymous surveys that have racial antipathy that pretend like they don't because it's not fashionable. This was known in the 90s, actually. In the 90s, it was unfashionable to be a racist, especially to be openly racist. So what do? They hid it. So the egalitarians hid their egalitarianism when racism was fashionable. And now when racism is unfashionable, the racists are hiding their racism and claiming egalitarianism. Well, see, there was a time when it was not socially fashionable for these women to be cheating on men, especially men that didn't do anything to them to deserve it. And now, because that's no longer fashionable, but it is fashionable to cheat, they're sitting up here and confessing to things they really wouldn't do. So there are women out here that are disrespecting their loving, committed boyfriends and husbands with a camera in their face, a phone in their face, because the phone is in their face, when they otherwise would not have done it if there was no recording, because they don't want to be called a pick-me mammy or be called sexually chained or in captive or something like that. They don't want to be accused by the loudmouth sisterhood, Wyatt or black, of agreeing to the patriarchy's sexual norms and rules for her. That's what I mean when I say that when the question has even though, the answer usually is because. You simply put because where you put even though in the question, and then the question is the answer. That is hatred. Now, because racism is not fashionable, black women are going to treat white men better, and of course they believe in white supremacy in many cases. And white women are going to treat black men better. But when you start dealing with these women and how they feel about the men of their own race, that is, most women are actually the most feminist with men of their own race and background. That's the funny thing about it. I hope that what I've said has explained a lot to you and cleared up a lot of confusion you may have otherwise had. As always, thank you for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it. Black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. And thank you for flying with us here again on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.